In the year 2079, the story takes place against the backdrop of a brutal war between humanity and an alien civilization. 35 years earlier, beings from the Alpha Centauri system launched a sudden and devastating attack on Earth, plunging the planet into chaos. In response, Earth's military government seized control, protecting key cities with impenetrable energy barriers. Despite these defenses, the aliens discovered ways to breach them, ushering in a new phase of the battle for human survival. Spencer Olam, who lost his father in these ongoing battles during his early years, is driven by the mission to develop weapons that could end the prolonged conflict. His wife, Maya, stands by his side, working as a manager at a medical center. On the morning of a crucial day, Spencer wakes with anticipation, knowing he is to meet Earth's chancellor during an official visit to the Military Development Institute that evening. Together with Maya, he commutes to work, quietly observing fellow passengers, unaware that their lives are about to change because of his groundbreaking invention. Upon arriving at the institute, Spencer meets his best friend Nelson, and they proudly inspect his advanced nuclear setup, which is set to be presented to the chancellor. Their discussion is interrupted by Major Hathaway, the head of counterintelligence, who greets Spencer before incapacitating him with a concealed stun gun. Spencer collapses, unable to move, and is seized by Hathaway's subordinates and taken to an undisclosed location. When Spencer regains consciousness in a dimly lit interrogation room, he finds himself restrained to a metal chair, monitors attached to his body. Major Hathaway reads from Spencer's dossier, acknowledging his achievements and lamenting the loss of such a brilliant mind. Hathaway reveals intelligence that the aliens have infiltrated Earth using replicants, exact copies of humans who are unaware of their artificial nature. According to Hathaway, the real Spencer was killed by the aliens, and the version of Spencer now in the room is a clone sent to assassinate Earth's chancellor. Despite Spencer's vehement denials, Hathaway presents a video showing the dissection of a captured replicant who had posed as an engineer to destroy a military base. Inside the imposter, a powerful explosive device known as the U-bomb was found, disguised as a human heart. Determined to extract the bomb from Spencer's chest before it can reach its intended target, Major Hathaway faces fierce opposition from Spencer, who pleads for mercy. Watching the tense interrogation from behind the glass, Nelson, Spencer's closest friend, remembers the incident at his wedding when a drunken friend aggressively confronted Maya, a secret known only to them. Spencer desperately implores Nelson to believe him. Torn and unsure, Nelson looks away, unwilling to challenge Hathaway's decision. As Spencer is escorted to the operating table for dissection, he suddenly begins mimicking a countdown to the bomb's detonation, taunting, "We'll all go out in a blaze of glory, long live the Centauri," and claiming his true target is Hathaway. Dismissing Spencer's claims, Hathaway orders the dissection to proceed. In a sudden frenzy, Spencer breaks free, grabs a scalpel, and stabs one of the guards in the leg, disarming him and taking him hostage. Without hesitation, Hathaway shoots his own subordinate, but Spencer uses the guard as a shield and escapes. Hathaway immediately launches a full-scale manhunt, deploying special forces to capture Spencer. As Spencer tries to find a way out of the building, he becomes trapped. The elevator doors open, revealing armed stormtroopers. Desperate to survive, Spencer opens fire, only to realize, with horror, that one of the injured is Nelson, lying on the floor. Regret floods Spencer, but it's too late. Nelson is dying. As Hathaway's forces reach the elevator, they find Nelson's lifeless body inside, while Spencer escapes through the elevator shaft. Spencer contacts Maya, explaining his plan to reach the medical center and scan his body to prove he's not a replicant. Maya tries to locate him, but their connection abruptly cuts off, leaving Spencer to continue his escape alone, haunted by fragmented visions of the past. Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense angrily contacts Hathaway, outraged that the captive has escaped. Hathaway insists on evacuating the civilian population, but the higher-ups fear mass panic. The minister questions Hathaway's brutal methods, asking, "How many innocent men bled for your mistakes before you uncovered the first replicant?" 10. Hathaway vows to correct his error, confident that, like all humans, the replicant, believing itself to be human, is bound to make mistakes. Meanwhile, Spencer finds himself outside the safe zone, where the surviving populace clings to life at the edge of destruction. Under constant bombardment, Spencer takes refuge in an abandoned house, but Hathaway's forces are closing in on him. They order the immediate evacuation of the local residents and conduct thermal scans to track him down. Eventually, they detect a heat signature, but it turns out to be a terrified little girl. Before Spencer can make another move, Masked individuals abduct him and bring him before their leader, an underground stalker named Kale. After scanning Spencer's identity, Kale realizes he has captured a government official and sees an opportunity for a hefty reward. He decides to hand Spencer over to the Border Patrol, ignoring Spencer's attempts to reason with him. Kale's bitterness towards the government stems from their abandonment of his city to the alien attacks. In a bid to change his mind, Spencer reveals that his wife works at the medical center and proposes a deal. If Kale helps him get into the center safely, he will provide Kale with access to life-saving medications that are otherwise unavailable outside the protective dome. Desperate to help his ailing loved ones, Kale reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Hathaway confronts Maya, trying to extract information about Spencer's whereabouts. Maya, however, conceals the fact that her husband has already contacted her. Hathaway informs her about Nelson's death and advises her to come to terms with the possibility that Spencer is no longer alive. Kale leads Spencer to a friend in a local hospital who removes the tracking device embedded in Spencer's body. After the procedure, Spencer observes Kale at the bedside of his gravely ill sister. Before they set off for the medical center, Spencer requests to keep the tracking device as a souvenir. The two then descend into the underground tunnels, making their way towards the center. Along the journey, Kale runs into acquaintances and, after a brief exchange, unexpectedly turns his weapon on Spencer. He demands that Spencer reveal the full truth about himself. Forced to come clean, Spencer admits that the government has declared him a fugitive with a significant reward on his head. In that instant, Kale is struck by a piece of rebar and falls unconscious. His accomplices, seeing the opportunity for the reward, attempt to kidnap Spencer. A fierce fight ensues, and Spencer is outnumbered. Kale regains consciousness and unexpectedly helps Spencer, shooting one of the attackers who was trying to strangle him. Terrified, the remaining assailants flee. Grateful for Kale's intervention, Spencer confides in him that his pursuers believe he is an alien who has taken over a human identity. Despite the shocking revelation, Kale chooses to trust Spencer. The duo emerges from the tunnels at a train station, where Spencer conceals his face with dark glasses and a hood, blending into the crowd. However, he is once again tormented by haunting visions, this time seeing Maya's image flickering in the flames of a bonfire. Overwhelmed, he tries to flee but quickly collapses, losing consciousness. Kale once again steps in and takes Spencer to a secluded area, saving him from further trouble. When Spencer awakens, he speculates that the security forces may have used psychotropic drugs to weaken his mind. He is consumed by guilt as he recalls the tragic event during his escape. "My best friend. The doors opened. I think I killed him." Suddenly, Spencer spots Hathaway in the crowd and, in a bold move, intentionally bumps into him, slipping a tracking device into the Major's pocket. Moments later, Hathaway is alerted that the prisoner has reappeared on the radar, sending all patrols to chase the decoy. Kale, accustomed to operating in secrecy, expresses frustration with Spencer for his reckless actions. Despite the close calls, they reach the medical center undetected. Spencer removes the identification token from a stormtrooper's lifeless body and, disguised as a doctor and a wounded soldier, the two infiltrate the facility. Along the way, Spencer glimpses Maya but is unable to signal her. Using a glove embedded with Maya's fingerprints, Spencer leads Kale into the medication storage area, where the stalker quickly gathers the necessary drugs to save hundreds of people living outside the protective dome. Their mission complete, the two part ways. As a farewell, Kale gives Spencer his weapon, ensuring he has some means to defend himself against his pursuers. Meanwhile, Hathaway discovers the tracking device on himself and flies into a rage, realizing he had been chasing his own decoy. He immediately directs stormtroopers to the medical center, suspecting that Spencer will try to reunite with his wife. Spencer, however, has already infiltrated Maya's office and found a cassette containing the recording of his last medical scan. Now he must conduct a high-tech re-examination and compare the results with the previous scan to prove he is not a replicant. Spencer tracks down a doctor and, under the threat of the weapon, forces him to perform the scanning procedure. As the scan begins, Spencer braces for the truth. The doctor secretly sends a distress signal, and a nurse enters the room, shocked by the scene. She quickly leaves to inform security about the fugitive. Kale, overhearing her conversation, rushes in to warn Spencer of the imminent danger. Just as he does, armed stormtroopers storm the room, forcing Spencer to abandon the scan, never uncovering the truth about himself. A fight breaks out between the two and the soldiers. While they manage to fend off the attackers, Kale sustains a knife wound. After providing first aid to his friend, Spencer urges Kale to escape. Meanwhile, Hathaway closes in on Spencer and begins his pursuit. Spencer darts into a ward filled with severely injured patients, using the chaos to blend in with them. Hathaway sends stormtroopers to explore the underground tunnels, then enters the scanning room. Realizing that Spencer was trying to prove his innocence, Hathaway begins to question his belief that Spencer is a replicant, earning a degree of respect for the fugitive's determination. Reaching a train station platform, Spencer pauses to plan his next move. A news broadcast catches his attention, reporting a forest fire caused by a strong electromagnetic anomaly. He recalls spending romantic weekends there with Maya, but has no memory of the fire, which coincided with those trips. Stealthily taking a phone from a sleeping man on the platform, Spencer contacts Maya. Initially hesitant and unsure if Spencer is truly who he claims to be, Maya eventually agrees to meet him. The couple reunites in the woods where they first met, making sure they aren't being watched. Spencer explains his plan. He believes the aliens couldn't reach him because their ship crashed in the woods, starting the fire. If he can find the wreckage, it will prove his innocence. Maya, trusting her husband, embraces him after their long separation. Their brief moment of peace is interrupted as stormtroopers surround the forest. Spencer and Maya flee deeper into the woods, hoping to find the alien ship before they are captured. As hundreds of armed soldiers close in, they finally reach the shuttle, only to discover they cannot open it. Hathaway addresses Spencer, urging him not to open the shuttle's airlock. He reveals that the full conversation with the aliens has been deciphered and admits his prior mistake. Sincerely, the Major pleads with Spencer to step away from the shuttle, but Spencer, ignoring his warnings, proceeds to open the door. What he sees inside shocks him to his core. In a moment of terror, the replicant version of Maya tries to flee, but Hathaway shoots her, preventing a potential explosion. Spencer rushes to her lifeless body, devastated by the realization that the woman he loved is gone. Hathaway, believing he has neutralized the real threat, feels relief, convinced that he has averted a disaster. As they examine the wreckage of the alien ship, another body is discovered, Spencer Olam's original self. In that instant, the replicant Spencer realizes his true nature. His eyes darken as he accepts the truth, and he self-destructs by triggering the U-bomb inside him. The resulting nuclear explosion consumes Hathaway and all the military personnel in the forest. In the aftermath, Kale's sister awakens in the hospital, fully recovering thanks to the new medications. On the news, it is reported that Hathaway and Spencer Olam were killed in an alien attack, and the government chooses to cover up the existence of the replicants to prevent widespread panic. Kale is left questioning whether he ever truly knew Spencer's real identity. The film leaves viewers reflecting on